Hello everybody, so welcome to another Deck Musings. So we're up to this period. We're going to be looking at not this tournament but another one from that period, and it's a deck built around my favourite format, one of my favourite formats, which is block constructed. So it will just be these two from the most recent block. So the Time Spiral set, which we looked at last week because of the World Championship, but we were looking at other cards as well from Standard as a whole. Had quite a nice spread, I think, in that episode. But the other stuff that's going to crop up is from Planar Chaos. It's really interesting actually when you look at Standard at this point how few, well in fact no, duplicates there are. I don't know if I've ever seen that before when I've been going through this series, but yeah, we're in this period here. So it looks like all the time that we're adding in stuff into the Time Spiral block. There's no reprints of anything from anywhere else in Standard, which is pretty cool. Think of it. So yeah, we haven't quite topped out yet here. That'll happen next week, but we're getting close to maxing. Oh, sorry, I stand corrected now. Even though we've got a core set rotation, it looks like there was slightly more in 10th edition and 9th. Okay, anyway, jumping forward a little bit there, but it's always nice to see what's up ahead. So yeah, we're here. And the tournament we're looking at is Pro Tour Yokohama, and as you can see it's Time Spiral block constructed. It'll be this particular deck as well. And just prior to that we had a whole load of Grand Prix which were mixed formats, so this did occur within the time frame of the most recent set coming out. But you can see we've got two extended Grand Prix, a couple of two-headed giants, and then actually a standard one, a GP Kyoto. But I elected to not to go for that. I decided to go to the block constructed. So here we are. This is Pro Tour Yokohama 2007, and you can see there's actually a mirror match in the final. So both decks were blue-black control. We're going to look at this one. You can see there's a bit of a difference between the two. I mean, it's not saying that. I say a mirror match. I suppose the decks are slightly different here in many ways, but they are both blue-black control decks. And we get Gruul aggro, blue-white-black control, mono-reg aggro deck, which has the least amount of non-basic, different types of non-basic lands in it. A couple of red-green ramp decks, and then red-green splash black ramp. So let's have a look at the deck in Architect. So we've got 4 artifacts, so they're 4 prismatic lenses, going to help us fix for the 2 colours in here. 2 to cast, tap, add 1 colourless to your mana pool, but we can do this filtering effect, so we can take a mana of any colour, turn it into another mana of any colour. Got 7 creatures in the deck. Well, it is a control deck, so we're going to see a lot more non-creature spells in here usually. So yeah, 7 in total. 2 Aeon Chroniclers. You can see the curve here is pretty high. So this is a 5-drop. This is a 5-drop as well. 6-drop, 7-drop. So let's have a look. 3, 2 blue, star. Power and toughness equal to the number of cards in your hand. Has suspend X. So X3 and blue. And X can't be 0. And so obviously there must be some shenanigans going on with the time counter to make it rewarding for the player to actually put a certain amount of counters on there. So when a time counter is removed from Aeon Chronicler while it's removed from the game, draw a card. So what's the earliest you can get that out then? So if X can't be 0, the minimum it can be is 1. So what's that? That's still a 5-drop. Except it's a single blue. And if we do that, we get to draw a card. There's 2 Terifis in here. I said it again, didn't I? I said Terifi. Teferi. There's 2 Teferis. Teferi, Mage of Zhalfir. 2 and 3 blue for a 3/4. Legendary creature, human wizard. There are a number of interesting legends in this block. We've got flash, and creature cards you own that aren't in play have flash. Each opponent can play spells only any time he or she could play a sorcery. 2 Draining Whelks, so 4 and 2 blues, a 1/1, has flash and flying, and when it comes into play, you counter a target spell, so it's doing double duty here. So in combination with that flash, it behaves like a non-creature spell. Counter target spell, put X +1/+1 counters on Draining Whelk, where X is that spell's converted mana cost. So yeah. And then we've got 1 Triskelavus, 7 to cast. It's a 1/1, and when it comes into play, it has 3 1/1 counters on it. It's got flying, and for 1 mana of any colour, you can remove a 1/1 counter from it and put a 1/1 artifact creature token with flying into play. It has sacrificed this creature. This creature deals 1 damage to target creature or player. Okay, let's look at the spells. Looks like we've got a lot of instants in here. There's 19. And we can see the curve here. So we've got some stuff here that can come out early. So we've got Snapback, 1 and a blue. You may remove a blue card in your hand from the game rather than play Snapback's mana cost. Where have we seen that before? Return target creature to its owner's hand. We've got 2 Think Twices. 1 and a blue. Draw a card, flashback 2 and a blue. So we get to play this card from the graveyard for its flashback cost, then remove it from the game. 4 cancels, so that's our 3-drop instant. Counter target spell. 2 sudden deaths, another 3-drop. Does have split second on it. So as long as this spell is on the stack, players can't can't smell spells, can't play spells or activated abilities that aren't mana abilities. And target creature gets -4/-4 until end of turn. 4 careful considerations, so 4-drop. 4 of those. Target player draws 4 cards and discards 3 cards. If you played this spell during your main phase, instead, that player draws 4 cards, then discards 2 cards. So no doubt in this episode, yet again, we'll be talking about the difference between the way blue draws cards and red. We got 3 mystical teachings. It's 4-drop, 3 in a blue. Search your library for an instant card or a card with flash. Reveal it and put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. Flashback 4 and a black. So notice there the flashback's in a different colour than the casting cost. We got 2 Tendrils of Corruption. So this is an interesting spell. So 3 and a black. Tendrils of Corruption deals X damage to target creature, and you gain X life, where X is the number of swamps you control. So it'd be interesting how the swamps versus islands is balanced out in here, and whether there's any other shenanigans going on. We've got 1 Haunting Him, 4 and 2 black. Target player discards 2 cards. If you played this spell during your main phase, that player discards 4 cards instead. So yeah, we've got quite a lot of interesting, I'm trying to think if conditions is the right word here, but caveats and various other, when this, do this type thing. Yeah. So I've said this numerous times before. To me, this period in Magic was incredibly cognitively, well, to me anyway, cognitively demanding. Seems that way with everything that was going on in terms of what, when you could play things and various other things, and you've got, cards that sort of go, okay, well, this actually is like faster than an instant, those sort of things. So, stuff that comes into play, as a result of being suspended with counters on it. And so I imagine, keeping track of things like board states and all manner of other things, it was quite challenging. 26 lands. Do we have any? Oh, yeah, peeked ahead there. Yeah, why not? Let's go ahead here. So there's 4 Damnations, 4 sorceries, 2 and 2 black. Destroy all creatures. They can't be regenerated. So yeah, this was, as you can probably guess, colour shifted version of a certain card in Magic. Okay, so what have we got in terms of the lands? 26 lands. So higher, I suppose, than maybe usual. It might be normally around 24, but that, like I say, usual. I mean, there's fluctuation around that anyway. Like faster red decks might have a lot less land in them, particularly stuff that's got a very low curve. With this one, we'll see here, but I imagine some of this is buffed up just because you want good chances of getting your land drops here. So we've got 1 Academy Ruins. It's a legendary land. You'll see there's some legends here. So the Academy Ruins is a one-of. The Urborg, there's actually 4 copies of that, so we'll see why in a moment. So tap, add 1 to your mana pool, 1 on the blue, tap, put target artifact card in your graveyard on top of your library. So that's going to get any artifacts back, allowing us to, in this case, reuse our Prismatic Lens and our Triskelavus if it's in the library. So remember these storage lands that were kicking around at the time. So we got 2 of those. We've got the blue-black one and the black-red one. Even though there's no need for red here, it's to do with the way these storage counters work. So it's quite handy in that you can add storage counters to them. They tap for mana, for colourless mana, straight out of the gate, which is pretty handy. For cost of 1 mana of any colour, you can put storage counters on them, and then you can remove storage counters and you can add mana based on the amount you've removed in any combination of, in this case, blue or black, and black and red. And we've seen this already as well. If you've got there's a particular colour of mana that maybe you want to have access to, you can leverage ones like this and just not choose to pick red as your mana. So just literally using it as though this was just counters for black mana. Notice we only have a single swamp in here. So 10 islands and a single swamp. So that's interesting because, we've got Tendrils of Corruption. So we've got 4 Terramorphic Expanses. Now this is interesting as well. I've never really thought this suddenly, like when a penny drops, because you don't really think about this, but with the Terramorphic Expanse, you can have them sitting on the battlefield and you just choose to crack it and sacrifice it and search your library for a basic land card and put it into play tapped. So a lot of the time, you're going to want access to, when you want to grab your basic lands, any of these. But with this Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth in play, yes, it's a legendary land, so, at that point, all that will happen is if you bring one into play, it will blow up the other. But there's 4 copies of it because you want access to it, because each land is a swamp in addition to its other land types. So you could have Terramorphic Expanses sitting there and they could be swamps. And of course everything else would be swamps. So if you've got 10 islands, yeah, they're a swamp as well. Everything's a swamp with an Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth in play, including all your opponent's stuff. And then we got Urza's Factory. Tap, add 1 to your mana pool. 7 tap, put a 2/2 assembly work artifact creature token into play. That could be a swamp as well. So swamps for everybody. It's a swamp party. So then we've got 15 sideboard cards. So here's where you know, you would want. So at the moment, the way the deck is in its sort of native form, if you like, without being sideboarded, we don't really need access to this red mana that I can see. Everything's either blue or black. However, in the sideboard, we do have some white cards and some red cards, obviously for certain matchups. We do have mountains, well, a single mountain and a plain to help out with, you know, obviously colours of mana that we don't have in our main deck. But we need to, say, bring in a Pool for Eternity or a Disenchant or a Temporal Isolation. We have a plains for that. The nice thing as well, we've already got Terramorphic Expanses in here, so we can, you know, crack that to find these. And what else? Oh yeah, the mountain. So Detritivore, Fortune Thief. Now, interesting here. This is a 2 red, but again, we do have the benefit of this Molten Slagheap as well. So even though there's 1 copy of this, because of storage counters, we can generate, potentially, if we've got enough counters on there, multiple amounts of red mana in there. But yeah, it's a really interesting mana base, isn't it? Like, there's lots of little things going on here. I mean, whether or not you would want to leave just an uncracked Terramorphic Expanse there, I suppose, yeah, you would, wouldn't you? Because you could use it to go and hunt out an island, and that would still be a swamp, but you're doing a swap for swap. Whereas if you have this still in play, initially you can have access to more mana, more lands. So yeah. Interesting deck. So back to the sideboard. 1 Extirpate, which has split second on it. Single black. Choose target card in graveyard other than a basic land. Search its owner graveyard, hand and library for all cards with the same name. That's any graveyard as well. Oh yeah, so that's the key thing. So obviously you're not going to want to, even though, you know, it doesn't specifically say an opponent's graveyard, you aren't going to want to cast it on yourself. I don't think so anyway. I don't know if you want to be exiling cards, your own cards. To me, this is for any combo decks. Search its owner's graveyard, hand, and library for all cards with the same name as that card and remove them from the game. Then that player shuffles his or her library. I suppose you could use it on yourself if you wanted to shuffle your library. Yeah, but I can't. I'm trying to think of a scenario, even though it's open-ended and it's any graveyard. I can't think of if anybody can think of an example where you would target your own graveyard with this card, beyond just wanting to shuffle your deck. Yeah, let me know in the comments. 2 pulls from Eternity. Put target face up card that's removed from the game. Okay. It's interesting. So would you... Yeah, no, you wouldn't. Why would you want to exile that. That's really dirtly, isn't it? Like extirpate your own card and then put it back into the graveyard. Okay. Yeah, so anyway, I'm going off on a bit of a side tangent here. But, some of these combinations, it's funny, you see these combinations that are completely pointless, but it does amuse me thinking of someone actually doing that. Yes, I'm going to extirpate and then I'm going to pull from Eternity. 1 Disenchant, destroy target artifact or enchantment. This was one of the time-shifted cards from the main set. 3 Premature Burials, one and a black, destroy target non-black creature that came into play since your last turn ended. Temporal Isolation, flash, enchant creature has shadow. Prevent all damage that will be dealt by enchanted creature. There's a sudden death in here. Another split second card, 1 and 2 black. Target creature gets -4/-4 until end of turn. What's that? Did we have a main deck sudden death? Yeah, we did. So it just increases the amount of sudden deaths in there. And then we have 3 Detritivores, 2 and 2 red, star, so power and toughness are each equal to the number of non-basic land cards in your opponent's graveyards. Suspend X, X3 red, X can't be 0. Whenever a time counter is moved from Detritivore while it's removed from the game. Destroy target non-basic land. Cool. Yeah, so yeah, similar to template, and no doubt I'm assuming, and we'll see, that where's the one that was similar to that? So we got a Draining Whelk. I wonder if that was part of a cycle. We'll see. Probably. And 1 Fortune Thief, 4 on a red, damage that would reduce your life total to less than 1, reduce it to 1 instead, and it's got morph on it. So 2 red, you may play this face down for a 2/2 creature for 3, turn it face up any time for its morph cost. Okay. Yep. No surprising, we've got this big mana bump, casting cost around 4. And nothing, no turn 1 stuff, so yeah. Okay, so let's go through and see what we've got. So, very nice. There's the islands from Time Spiral. There are the swamps. Now, I did remember to include everything. There are the plains. And there are the mountains. So yeah, in extremis, with everything sideboarded in terms of choices of mana sources, this is a 4-colour deck. Okay, Academy Ruins. Put target artifact card in your graveyard. Put target artifact card in your graveyard on top of your library. Okay, restock. Artifact recursion utility then. What's this? Okay. There we have it. Wow, that's a mega cycle. Okay, Volra's Stronghold, Academy Ruins, and Hall of Heliod's Generosity. Black, blue, and white. Okay. At some point, are we going to get a red and a green one, maybe? Right, yeah, these storage counters, which we have looked at before. So yeah, part of a cycle. You can see, was it reprinted for the remastered set? And in terms of just going through them. Actually, the quick way to do this is full, isn't it? So if we look at them from the perspective, so just to see what the reprint's been like. So look, Dreadship Reef turned up a number of times. Fungal Reaches was in the Commander product. Molten Slagheap, Salt Crusted Steep. Okay, so basically the white-blue one doesn't really get an awful lot of love in terms of reprints. There's my Molten Slagheap. Good old Terramorphic Expanse. It's a fetch land. It's a manaless land. We'll have a look at that again. I think it's been a while maybe. Sacrifice self, tutor land to battlefield, and yeah, similar to Evolving Wilds. I can never remember with these two whether it's Evolving Wilds that normally has the bigger variety of different artwork. I think it is. Well, I'll go in a moment to this card and actually see. Let's have a look. I think pretty much the artwork has remained unchanged. Yeah, it's the functional reprint one. So on Evolving Wilds. What's the one that I think I mentioned in a or if it's not gone out yet, mentioned in a artwork video. Oh no, actually I'm getting ahead of myself. That's the video I've got planned actually. That's funny. I haven't recorded it yet. It's a special episode of something I was just working on. Yeah, okay, yeah, it's coming back to me now. But I always get really excited when there's Evolving Worlds in a set. It sounds sad, but I get excited because it's like, oh, I wonder what artwork they're going to have, you know, because it became clear that at some point beyond when it was first printed, so let's go back to here, and we've got M13 and then the Commander product, M15, and then cropping up in all sorts of precons. So initially, this is, yeah, Magic Online promo. So yeah, everything looked normal. Okay, well, it's going to be the same as, you know, the other card. And then suddenly, oh, okay, this is interesting. They start doing different artwork every now and again, particularly with, you know, the sets it's been printed in. So you'll probably notice that, you know, you've got, these are all, so this one here is in a set, so's this, but a lot of these are in precons. So there's a couple of times they reprinted it with the same artwork in different sets, in core sets, but then things start getting interesting, and we start seeing, you know, in sets them playing around with the artwork. So yeah, that was always brought a smile to my face when I knew Evolving Wilds was in the set, and it's like, okay, what artwork are they going to do for that? Anyway, I'm easily pleased, me. Right, what else have we got here? So, what did I manage to do there? Terramorphic Expanse, there we go. Right, Worse Than Escape Tunnel. It's got extra goodies on it, and Worse Than Fables Passage, because yeah, it's got an option not to come into play tapped. That's why. Terminal Moraine references. Okay, interesting. So there's a cost for that. Yeah, so this manaless land business, and you can see we have been down here before, but it's always a nice opportunity to look at it, because it is a part of Magic's history that always fascinates me, because there was this thing where I think it's been pointed out, you know, there was quite a number of lands early on in Magic's history which didn't produce mana at all. They weren't fetch lands. You know, it wasn't like these, where, okay, they don't produce mana, but they go and get something that does produce mana. So I suppose I was just trying to look at what's the cut-off point when it reached there. I suppose, what was it, Thawing Glaciers? Was one which actually went to fetch another land, yeah. And then we had these. You got Dark Depths, there's Terramorphic Expanse, and you got things like Vesuva, which is interesting. So also from Time Spiral. So it comes into play as a copy of a land. And then we get these as well around the time of Zendikar. And then all manner of things in between. Yeah. Okay, Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth. So land conversion, mana fix, namesake spell, similar to Blanket of Night. So that was an enchantment. Each mana producing land is a swamp in addition to its normal land type. And that was from Visions. And it's referenced by Yavimaya, Cradle of Growth. Each land is a forest in addition to other land types. So let's have a look at land conversion, but with particular interest in the type of land. And looks again like we've been here before. So what sort of things and how much do land conversion? So I suppose my first interest would be other land that does land conversion. And there you can see we've got 3. This is interesting. This gets forgotten about, I think, often. Unstable Frontier. So it can tap for colourless mana quite happily, but you can tap it and a target land you control becomes the basic land type of choice until end of turn. So not as good as other ways of doing, but still, I think, an interesting land. So, what about creatures that do it? So what do you reckon? Are we going to see maybe some elves that do it? Oh, I put creatures in. I know I mean creature. So 34. Yep, goes Leech. So again, remember with these are ones that specific target a land. They're not the ones that filter mana, which are slightly different. So yeah, these mess with land types. And as a consequence, you can do some interesting stuff with this sort of thing. So that's land creatures. We did notice that there were some enchantments there. You got things like Blood Moon, Evil Presence, as was said, Blanket of Night, Celestial Dawn, and then things like later on Contaminated Ground from Rise of the Eldrazi. I don't know if anybody remembers this. I was playing around this time. Enchanted Land's a swamp, so it totally makes something a swamp, and whenever Enchanted Land becomes tapped, its controller loses 2 life. You got Lush Growth, which came out in Shards of Alara. Enchanted Land is a mountain, forest and plains. So some are just regular enchantments, some are what ended up being called auras. But back originally they would have said something like this one, enchant land. Target land is now a swamp. And then instance, there's 9 cards that do it. Magical Hack, Crystal Spray, Crystal Spray. That one's doing double duty with lands and creatures. So what about sorcery speed? What do we see? Just 2. And then okay, so we've got some artifacts to do it. This is how I love uncovering like these obscure, seemingly to me obscure artifacts. So Mystic Compass, or artifacts that I have featured in a previous episode but forgotten about. Yeah, Mystic Compass, 2 to cast, 1 target mana, producing land becomes basic land type of your choice until end of turn. How much are they? Oh, nice. They reprinted it in Classic 6th edition. There we go. Quicksilver Fountain, Elsewhere Flask, Navigator's Compass, this thing, Encyclopedia Tomb from Alpha. Turn any one non-swamp land into a swamp during mark the changed lands with tokens. Okay, it's destroyed it. So how has that been errated, if at all? Oh my word. It's actually got larger. That's interesting. Oh look, that's over £1,000 for the privilege of owning one of these. That's amusing. I don't know how often that happens where the errated text actually ends up being more than what's actually on the card originally. What's the cheapest one you can pick up apart from collector's edition? Oh, unlimited non-foil apparently. I don't think they were doing foils at that point. Yeah. Well, online it's 0.02 of a tick. Urza's Factory. For the price of 7 you can create a 2/2 colourless assembly worker artifact creature token. Okay. What are they going to suggest it's similar to? Oh, they only have one of these repeatable token generators. Unique token, utility land, Urza's land, Urza's Factory, so mine, power plant. So yeah, let's look at that. All the stuff that's associated with Urza that some sort of landness. Although this is a saga. Oh, yeah, because it does that. Okay, I see now. It's a saga now. There's Factory, there's this fun house, power plant. Oh, there we go. Yeah, of course, all the way from antiquities. So yeah, nothing from Urza and the land until Urza's Factory. Okay, so that was just the mana base. Right, we'll probably stop there then. That's the cool bit over with. So no, joking aside, let's get on in here and have a look and see what we've got. Okay, it's not been reprinted many times. So this was one of the ones where I was expecting there to be a cycled. I thought, oh, there we go. Yep. Okay, there's a reference to Maro there. So that's where cards with the power toughness is equal to cards in hand named after the card Morrow. And again from Mark Rosewater, the head designer for Magic the Gathering. Wasn't that based on the way in which Wizards used to do email addresses in the early days? You know, if you've ever worked for a big corporation, you know, they have all these different it's like a set of rules for creating email addresses. You know, I've worked at places where it's been like, you know, the first character of your first name and then all of your last name, and then if it's the same as anybody else, use the middle name. There at Wizards, I believe it was the first two characters from, you know, your first name and your last name. Okay, at least that's the story I've heard anyway. You never know with Wizards, do you? Cold Snap, case in point. Yeah, so okay. Did anything get reprinted a lot? Not really. So interesting, not all of them turned up in the remastering. Yeah, they left out Detritivore, Fungal Behemoth and Rolling Horror. So in the interests of looking at the same stuff, let's do our usual is first printing, just in case there's been any subtle changes. I mean, they're all modern borders, so probably the shading or the shades look slightly different. Yeah, I think I pointed this out before with the artwork video, one from last, well, a couple of Fridays ago now, actually, probably because I'm always at least a week ahead on filming. But I think I made a point about, yeah, this sort of breakthrough effect. Stuff looks like it's coming through from the other side. And there are a number of, if you look closely at all the suspend cards, I think you can find somewhere where there's this sort of, you know, suspension area that they're coming through from. And on some it's more noticeable than others. But you can see the thing with these is, so this one, power and toughness, yeah, it's a power and toughness, sorry, equal to the number of cards in your hand. This one's power and toughness equal to the number of soldiers, opponent's graveyard, non-basic land cards, that is. +1/+1 counters on creatures. And this one, your life total minus the life total of an opponent with the most life. Okay. And then the business of removing the counters, or when they get removed, and you choosing, and if you do choose to suspend this card as opposed to just casting it regularly, because there's always the option to do that, you know, what you get as the time counters are removed. And it looks like, yeah, that you can see the two are linked and synergize in some way. There's Draining Whelk. Okay, so we've got counterspell with set mechanic. Okay, but interestingly enough, not. Yeah, so it wasn't part of a cycle. But yeah, again, that fascinated me, the way they sort of implemented that. Yeah. So you've got flesh creature with a, you know, spell effect on it. So instant speed counter spell, but for 4 and 2 blue, and it scales off the so yeah, so you've got counter target spell, and whatever it counters, you get counters, as in physical counters, on it based on the X in that spell's converted. Sorry, the converted mana cost of the spell. Interesting. Okay, there's probably quite a few cards that do that. Oh, what's this? Effects that turn your opponent's strength against them. Okay, have we... Ooh. It's always interesting when there's a rabbit hole where it looks like I haven't been down. I don't think we've seen this before. First printing. Yeah, so... Oh yeah, that's why it's called a Kido, isn't it? It's all about turning an opponent's force against them. Oh yeah, of course, mana drain. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I'll be looking forward. Wednesday's video, we'll be looking at this, Portal 3 Kingdoms. That'll be exciting. There's some legends in there, which is unusual for like a supposedly starter set. I don't think that the next time they did that, in terms of starter stuff or core sets, was not until I think 10th edition. Well, oh, there's my favourite card to pronounce. There's another one with Suspend. Another interesting legendary creature from this period from Time Spiral. That's a pretty cool artwork here. Oh, look at that. Side Spectre. Phyrexian Ingest. Oh, wow. Death's Caress. Oh, so yeah, these are all Kido cards. Oh, Daxos. Garruk Apex Predator, which blows up other planeswalkers. Yeah, there's a big promotion around that. What set did that first appear in? There was a version of the Comic-Con. But, yeah. I only remember that there were some promo videos I think they did associated with that. It's funny, I thought it was a lot earlier than 2015 for some reason. Okay, Teferi. At least I'm catching myself now doing it. And we did look at this last week. So it gives flash, it's 8 bear, 8 instance. Is that a thing? 82 of those. Some of these I'm not going to spend an awful lot of time on necessarily, because we may well have looked at these in a previous week. Certainly I know I looked at this card last week, but let's have a look at this. Doesn't look like I've been down here. So yeah, cards that give flash. So you can see, these have been errated because it was a thing before flash became keyworded. And there you go, there's flash there. Flash by name, flash by nature. fact, I've already made 2 intentional references to UK TV series in the course of this video. I wonder if people have spotted either or both of them. Triskelavus. Sounds like a cracker, doesn't it? Those, is it Triscuits? The wheat crackers, I think. Get a 1/1 wheat cracker token comes into play. Ah, Bombard. Yeah, so this whole thing of playing around with counters and sort of exchanging them for tokens. You know, long-term players of Magic may well recognise some of these. Triskelion, Pentavus, Tetrivus. I'm sure there's quite a number others than that. So it comes into this area of repeatable token generators, but it's more than that. It's this whole turning counters into tokens. Aren't there some cards where you can do the reverse? Yeah, that's Tetrivus. That's the one I'm thinking of. Now that way back from antiquities. The one we're looking at here is from the online Masters edition, when they reprint or had them all created online to sort of backfill cards that were missing because of how far they went back in terms of sets that were sort of released virtually online on MTGO. Yeah, Bombard, we've been down that. Sacrifice something to deal end damage. So you get things like Bombard, you get things like Fling. Lovely stuff. Good old Cancel. Yep, so there's, all these various templates, I suppose, for counter spells, that are just straightforward, counter target spell, and this, slight change of balance. And that's why you see here there's an awful lot of cards where they are considered to be better than this card or worse than this card. So you've got, good old counter spell, so just 2 blue. This one, obviously it's 2 blue and 1 of any colour. So it's not as if it was a single blue and then 2 of any colour. But then you've got things like, so these are all the, let me see if I try and pick out the ones where this is worse than the card in question. So in these cases with Cancel, all of these cards, Cancel is worse than the card. So all these cards are better than Cancel. Admiral's Order, Broken Concentration, Counterspell, Disallow, Dissipate. So they are either cheaper or they give you something extra. Forbid, Reverse Polarity, Scatter to the Winds, Spell Snuff, Wizard Retort, Find the Villain's Lair, Stoic Rebuttal, Sinister Sabotage. You probably notice as well a pattern here is most of these are all 3 drops. So the difference between them and Cancel is Cancel's also a 3-drop, but these are 3 drops with the counterspell and something extra for your money. You got Neutralize, Ice Out, Dissolve, Disruption Protocol, Bag Check, and Absorb Energy. So if you look through these, the only one where there's something facing in the other direction, which means Cancel is better than it, and in this case Mystic's Denial is worse than Cancel, and it's from, funny enough, a set we're going to be looking at on Wednesday, and this is because these are these weird ones. So you can play Mystic Denial only in response to another player playing a creature or a sorcery. That card has no effect, and that player puts it into his or her graveyard. And if you haven't been watching my sort of return to set musings episodes, you'll probably know that these weird sorceries that were in these sort of three sets, these three portal sets, were errated. So this one can only do creatures or sorcery spells, basically. So yeah. Careful consideration. So let's see how this pans out. So, okay, similar to Brilliant Spectrum. I mean, what's interesting about this is we're just drawing so many cards. We're 4 cards, but then we have to discard 3. And then if you play this spell during your main phase, instead of that player draws 4 cards and then discards 2. So it's like a condition there which gives you or reduces the amount of cards you have to discard by 1 down to 2. What's that? A cycle of addendum cards. Okay, it's interesting. They're calling that. So again, some reprinting going on here. Actually, I didn't want to do that. Whoops. So let's look at this cycle. What have we got? So there's our card in this deck. So we've got Return to Dust. Yeah, so you can look, see here, look, there's all this sort of addendum main phase business. So it's been addended or addendumated, or whatever the correct word is. Has an addendum to the spell, which says, if you play this spell during your main phase, you get the spells like this instead. I was curious because I'm sure I remember drafting that at some point, and that would have been in a... I did draft Time Spiral. No, I didn't. Sorry. So yeah, it was probably a flashback draft. Damnation. Okay. Yep, you got it. Colour shifted Wrath of God. So 2 and 2 white, destroy creatures, they can't be regenerated. 2 and 2 black, destroy creatures, they can't be generated. With these, so these are the colour shifted ones from the middle set. And with this card, which was originally from Planar Chaos, you'll see they've been pretty selective in where they reprint it. It was an invocation. It was in the remastered, but I don't think... Oh, it was in Modern Masters, actually. I was trying to think, has it ever been reprinted in a sort of set of some description? So never in a regular set. And the only time it got reprinted, the only time it's been reprinted in sets where you're actually cracking boosters would be Modern Masters, Time Spiral and Double Masters, which are all, special sets, supplemental sets, aggregate sets, however you want to think about them. So, I mean, it's helped with the price, I'm assuming. I'm not sure. So between when it was reprinted and here, I'm not sure what the price maxed out at. So Sweeper Creature Destroy, which there's 150 cards that do that in various guises throughout Magic's history. Haunting Him, this is one of those, another one of the addendum cards, which you know, you have to check to see, you know, did you play this spell during your main phase? If you did, then yep, it's slightly changed. Ah, Mystical Teachings was in here. Yep. Oh yeah, this cycle. I'm surprised we haven't looked at this before, although I suppose, yeah, yeah. It's a strangling soot in it, doesn't it? Orangey Blink, Mystical Teaching, Strangling Soot, Ancient Grudge, and Thrill of the Hunt. Notice, yeah, in all cases the flashback cost is allied colours based on the casting cost. So yeah, just you know, a regular old spell, apart from you can flash it back from the graveyard. So at least you don't have to make a decision about flashing it back as you cast it, or, you know, I'm trying to think of the particular ability where that's the case, you know, where some cards in Magic's history, if you want to reuse the card, you have to pay an extra casting cost as you're casting it. With this, you can have it sitting in your graveyard, and of course, yeah, it doesn't stop you from, if it's sitting in your graveyard, you using other means to get it back where you don't do it through flashback. Prismatic Lens, another sort of card where we've looked at this quite a lot, so, you know, without doing anything beyond it just sitting there and you're being able to generate mana, it can generate colourless mana. But it has this extra ability which allows you to filter mana. So. And you can see it's actually better than Celestial Prism and Mana Prism as an old school card, because that one's more to cast, Mana Prism. Better than Standing Stones, that's an interesting card. It's a mana rock and a mana filter, and there's 163 mana filter, and this is where we move with mana filters. This is where we're moving into this situation where you have creatures that can filter mana. And I'm just going to do this because there's always one that comes on in my head, but I can't remember it. And yeah, it's these Initiates of the Ebon Hand, and I think these exist in different versions, aren't they? And there's another later one. I for some reason I always just remember the ones, the black creatures that do it. Yeah, that's it. Bog Initiate. That's the other one I tend to remember as well. At Snapback, you may remove a blue card in your hand from the game rather than play Snapback's mana cost. Was this part of a cycle? Okay, no. For some reason I thought there was a sort of cycle of like repowered pitch spells in this that mirrored like other earlier pitch spells, but no, I misremembered, so no, this wasn't part of a cycle. It is a pitch spell, so yeah. Option to cast them for free. And there's a number of those in Magic. 93. Yeah, removal creature, bounce, drown in shapelessness. It's better than that. Misdirection, unsummon, snap. Sudden Death, which has split second on it. It was only reprinted for the remastered. This was part of a cycle, which includes Krosan Grip. It's an interesting card. So yeah, you've got Sudden Death, Sudden Shock, Krosan Grip, Wipe Away, and then Celestial Crusader. Now again, can you see this sort of dividing line thing for these split seconds? But this one is harder to see if it is indeed there at all, actually. But they're all split second cards, but there's a bit of like wiggle room there on the template, I think. Maybe on this one, because you got Flash, Flying, and a pump for white creatures. This one is just Artifact or Enchantment Destruction. This one's -4/-4. This one's 2 damage, and this one is return permanent to its owner's hand. So these seem, in some respects, what you would, I suppose, expect, the sort of things in those colours to put on here. It's almost here they couldn't quite decide. Yeah, I mean, it's rather interesting that these are all instants. This is a flash creature instead. So I wonder why they chose not to have something similar, like another instance in white. That I don't know. I was just trying to think what would you probably want? Something like destroy target attacking creature or something like that. Maybe there was a similar spell in this set that did that. Oh, Tendrils. Yeah, I remember this being reprinted in Magic 2010. That's where I remember it from. That would have been the first time I opened it. It was also in Commander. Yeah, interesting card. I seem to be drawn to these cards which have the, is that, what would that include? Yeah, hurt a creature and gain life to match. So things like Consume Spirit. It's Corrupt. So the ones that, Drain Life, yeah, ones that sort of scale on in that case land, but some of these scale on other things as well. You notice that the X spell isn't always tied to the X part isn't always tied to the casting cost. I suppose that's where I'm going. But you can see with some, the life drain is locked. It's not scalable. But it's the scalable ones that I always find interesting. Like, how can you leverage that scalability to maximum effect? Think Twice, another flashback card. But this one, flashback's in the same colour as the casting cost. And not a cycle, but a number of cards that it's similar to. So we've got Deduce, Radical Idea, and then Desperate Ravings. So yeah, it's card draw for 1 and a blue, but with flashback on it. As such, just having to draw a card on there makes it a cantrip. Yeah, and again, I'm sure originally cantrip, as it pertains to D&D, didn't have a bit more of a more specific meaning about the timing of the bonus thing, because that's where isn't that where the expression comes from? Is from Dungeons and Dragons. Detritivore. Cycle of X, Marrow Sorcerer, a non-basic land, and yeah, we've seen this cycle before. And again, as I pointed out, some were reprinted for the remasters, some weren't. Oh, good old Disenchant. Has to crop up again. We had a run of this, didn't we? So yeah, the classic, white artifact enchantment removal. So yeah, it's going to have a reference to Disenchant, Naturalize in here. You get things like Seal of Primordium in green, Seal of Cleansing, things like Abolish, Naturalize, which is the green one. Was it stapled to Devout Witness? It's a Tempest storyline card. Yeah, the usual stuff. But, so reprinted rather nicely in here in a fashion that makes it look, quite different from the rest of the cards in the set. But they had this different set symbol. So if you were actually to look at it alongside other printings from back in the day, I don't know how easy that is to do, but there it is there, and then you go back. Is there a black? I don't know if there's a black border one with the same. Yeah, it's going to be difficult to find a black border one with the same look to it, because we go really old school. Then don't we get back to the days of alpha and beta. But yeah, I suppose they would have tweaked the font, wouldn't they? But it's if you sort of ignore the white border, I would say that's pretty close to the last one they would have had in the like in a core set. Oh, that was in anthologies, wasn't it? Okay. Yeah, but with that artwork. Oh, yeah, that's Magic the Gathering Online. So I don't think they've never reused that apart from in here. Okay. Oh, there's Extirpate. The one that had me wondering. Surgical Extraction. Okay. Choose target card in the graveyard other than a basic main card search. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. I remember that being in a lot of decks when it came out, like Sideboard card and other things. Deal with certain matchups where you were sort of going after a key card in your opponent's deck. Yeah. Cards which exile all cards of particular name from a player's hand, library and or graveyard. So yeah, lobotomy cards. And again, it's interesting to see, the context in which they turn up. Was it going to be in the set anyway? Did it get put in there because it may be in a later set to go into standard because there was a particular troublesome card maybe they wanted to deal with? You can see as well it's different card types as well here. Mainly sorceries and instants, but you saw there was a creature back there. And we've got artifact, legendary creature. But yeah, a lot of times it's interesting, isn't it, how it's what's that? Okay, did we? So we're in Urza's Destiny. So there's a cycle there. Looks like, doesn't it? Target enchantment, instant or sorcery, like creature, non-basic land, and target artifact. Interesting. That was Eradicate. That one. Must be, yeah. Cycle of lobotomy spells for different things. Or at least they were being fair, weren't they, I suppose. Damage that would reduce your life total to less than 1, reduce it to 1 instead. So yeah, these as well are interesting cards that sort of get you just on. I wonder if they have a name. Okay, we'll have a look at Worship. So rare morph creature, there was a cycle of those. Looks like few of them have been reprinted. Not something I featured, which is interesting because you'd think this would have come up when I did a set musings if this was a cycle, but maybe I did it through a different form of filtering. Sometimes in the some of the set musings I didn't always use the O tag to do it. So that might be why. Here we go. So you can see, I think the similarity here is morph. Well, they morph their creatures. The abilities are quite different outside of the morph. Yeah. Let me just go back because I wanted to worship. Oh yeah, okay. I've looked at this before. See, it doesn't come up very often. 8 of them. Including the emblem. 4, yeah, it must be for this card. Yeah. Oh, okay, so we have. That's interesting. Can't lose the game this turn in your race. Can't win the game this turn. I might go down that side rabbit hole because I was curious about that. I remembered I'd seen it joined up with this particular thing. So we got this, which is pretty much the same as the same as this. The bottom bit here, the last sentence. But what I was curious about is yeah, that was it. Platinum Angel. So I was trying to remember. Prevents win and loss. Yeah, there's a number of cards that do that. But they can be pretty challenging in themselves because I don't know if it's the case with. Yeah, you can't win the game and your opponents can't lose the game. That's around the other way. Okay. Premature Burial. So yeah, we're into, if you hadn't guessed already, we're well into sideboard territory on this deck already. So target non-black creature going to play since your last end turn. That's pretty specific, isn't it? Let's see what we've got down here. So Cradle to Grave, similar to, yeah, going to play this turn. So very specific. Let's look at that cycle. Look at the wording on Dark Banishing though. So 2 in the black, destroy target non-black creature. It can't be regenerated. So for 1 extra of any colour, no conditions beyond the non-black creature business. Right, it doesn't have to be coming to play. And if you want to go back, then you've got Terror, which was non-artifact, non-black creatures. But this one's can't be regenerated. Okay. Interesting. So, it's interesting for a miniature, a partial cycle. What is this then? Oh, okay. So, this is a mega cycle because it's in the same block, but in the same colour. That's unusual. So, Premature Burial. Cradle to Grave, destroy target creature that came into play this turn. Which is another, so sorcery, instant, enchantment. When a non-black creature comes into play, sacrifice Grave Peril. If you do, destroy that creature. Okay. All the same cost as well. Okay. There's Pull from Eternity. Move target. So was that pretty unusual at the time to have cards that interact with the exile zone or removed from the game, as it said? Yeah, I mean, I know with the processors, so it's more like a retrospective label applied to it. So let's look at those two things. Okay, so void more. Yeah, just a scepter, and then we get it, and then we get all of the Eldrazi shenanigans in Battle for Zendikar, where they really went full on messing with the exile zone. Yeah. But the other thing that was listed there, an exile I spotted there, it said recursion from exile. That's cool. It's a cool doggo. So what does this represent? So first card to have its Pull from Eternity Rifts. Okay, so yeah, you're getting it back, putting it back somewhere. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, makes sense. So this one goes to the graveyard, this one goes to the library, and the other one's here specifically, yeah, putting it into certain places. Okay. And then finally, Temporal Isolation. Let's see what this is tagged up as. Oh, so there was a cycle of flash auras in this set. Again, that one was reprinted for the remastered, but the other three weren't. So it looks like they did that a little bit, didn't they, with this set? Some stuff got reprinted. It's interesting when they do that with cycles. You know, you can understand, obviously, they slim everything down from the set. You know, where you've got a whole block down to a set where it's like you're distilling down the whole block into a single set. But it's interesting when they decide to carve up the cycles part. Okay. Then did something else catch my eye here? Gives shadow. So, yeah, form of pacifism. Creature removal. Reference to pacifism here, and something called muzzle, which doesn't want to come up for some reason. Oh, there we go. Wow, from was that Mercadian Mars? Yeah. So yeah, quite a number of pacifism spells over the years. 77. Form of removal that prevents a creature from attacking, and usually also from blocking and or. Yeah, we would have looked at this before, but let's just quickly revisit this. So yeah, black into whites. Way back from Mirage we have pacifism, and then on through with the odd card in different colours, but generally you can see, yeah, it's something that you see a lot of in white. And I wouldn't say there's a pacifism spell in every set, but it often feels like that a lot of the time. Either functional reprints or, you know, reprints or things that have additional things stapled to them, like a lot of these do. So what's the most recent pacifism type thing? Petrify. From the Lost Caverns of Ixalan. Enchant artifact or creature enchanted permanent can't attack or block, and its activated abilities can't be activated. But if I was to take out the first printing, because there might be reprints here, and then can I sort of do this? Yeah, Faith Fetters was reprinted for Ravnica Remastered, and there's Petrify. Okay, so that was a fascinating episode yet again. So hopefully you enjoyed that. So that was a sort of look through and down various rabbit holes for this UB, this blue-black control deck, which was from Pro Tour Yokohama from 2007. I will include a link to the MTG Top 8 stuff, so you can peruse the different decks if you're curious. So thanks once again for watching. Bye for now, and I will catch you in a future video.